Welcome to the show where we take stuff that looks like this and make it look and work a hell of a lot better. Now in this episode, we're going to fix up 3 more entries submitted by users in my Discord server. So the first up is a price comparison chart for a web hosting service, a landing page for an e-commerce business that sells vintage cups, and finally, a personal blog design. Now also, please don't fast forward or scrub through to try to find out what I did. Please watch everything and take in just what I have to teach here. There's a lot to learn, and if you like what I've done, please give a like. It's essential, and also a comment, and of course, most importantly, subscribe. Let's get started. Before we begin though, Linode, the sponsor of this video, makes it easy to host your site, your app, or service on whatever technology stack you use. With one-click apps like WordPress and Drupal, getting up and running is easy. With backend access to your server, customization options are all but limitless. A fully configurable DNS manager allows for you to easily switch your domain over to your new server, and SSL certificates can be installed for free using open source tools. So sign up using the link below to get $20 in credit on your new Linode account. So this is from user Eroda, and this is a price comparison. So what do you think the biggest issue with this particular design is? I'll give you 3 seconds. I'll tell you, I'm not sure where I should be looking. So it lacks clear visual hierarchy, and that's due to the inconsistent design. We have what are essentially 3 different color schemes here on each panel. And I understand you want to create a difference between the 3, and usually you want to emphasize or give the user, the most popular option, usually being the one that's not the cheapest, not the most expensive, usually one in the middle. But really, you only have to change one little thing about it in terms of the size, or maybe adding a border to really make give the user the fact that this is the most important one to look at, or the one that you should choose. So that's exactly what we're going to do in this one. So I'm choosing to stick with the middle panel design with the white background here. The designer actually did a good job on all 3, but again, the issue is with consistency, and they're varied way too much. So again, my design will look very similar to the middle panel on the initial design. Now here I'm speeding up the video a little bit more. I do like the alternating subtle background shift from light blue to white to separate the features. And I also like the green checkbox to indicate which feature is supported. Now, real importantly, I'm sticking with the same color scheme for all 3 price points. Now, in order to emphasize the preferred price point, I've enlarged it, and I've also experimented by adding a border around it, although I do end up removing that. Okay, so next up we have this that was submitted by a user on Discord, and I have to say it's very boring. This illustration here, when it comes to something that's very visceral like vintage cups, you want to see a photograph of vintage cups. You don't want to see some generic illustration. So we're going to really drastically improve this design, and this isn't so much a UX overhaul as it is a UI overhaul. So I'm on unsplash.com searching for relevant photographs that will work well as a background for the hero section of the UI. It's important to find something that will work well because type will be sitting on top of it, and you want it to contrast as much as possible. Now, I've chosen this photograph because it features 4 teacups in an almost solid wall, which will work great for the type on top of it. And the rest of this process is now made so much easier. And most importantly, it's not boring. It's a relevant photograph that will really speak well to the visitors. So now we have our call to action, which is given more white space around the button text. And I'm also going to make more adjustments to the photograph. I wanted a little more variance in the photograph's background, so I brought it into Photoshop to add in my own sort of light beam on the wall. All right, and finally we have the submission by Avaz Khan here on Discord, and this is a blog design. Now this has a lot of things going right for it, but there's also things that could definitely be improved, such as the navigation up here, along with the main content section right here, and we'll make a number of subtle changes. So there's a few issues with this designer's navigation. First, there's not enough white space between the links. They're a bit too close together. And second, because there's a fair amount of links, you want to style them differently where it makes sense. Home, services, portfolio, and skill can all be styled the same because they're of equal importance, but blog and contact can be styled differently, which will help vary the navigation so that's easier to differentiate. Now, next up, I do like the photograph background here, so I'm doing the same thing. There's no issue there. But I did find the breadcrumb navigation needed to be redesigned. The alignment, font size, and gradient background should all be changed to make it easier to read and distinguish between the different tags. Now, next, the designer had the date right aligned as much of an afterthought, so I placed it below the title and made it a bit larger. Next up, we have the main blog content, and the previous designer for some reason had two different font sizes, which threw off consistency, so I made sure all paragraphs were styled the same. And then I decided to showcase the main blog panel by making a light gray background, and I also decided to feature the author along with the date. And because there's a fair amount of content at the top, I decided to separate the meta information of the blog post and the blog post itself with a line separator. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, once again, give a like, subscribe, and comment. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Welcome to the show where we take... Welcome to the show where we take stuff that looks like this and make it a look. A look. Come on, dude. And really just make everything look 100% more professional. And dude. I'm talking on and on. Now, also, make sure you watch the whole thing. Don't scrub through to try to find the results at the end. Please just watch, take in what I have to teach. What, Jesus. So this here example is, that's not an example, you dumbass.